Hereward! This day is the glamour day. Day, the Ethel Gewortha. Am I right?
Yes.
What did I say?
I'll drink to that.
You'll drink to anything. If history has shown us anything about you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Brooks. Come on, give it up for
All right.
Up with his head.
So, what I just greeted you with, here what? This day is Gilamadeia. This day, they Ethel Gewortha was, hey! That was the what? Hey! This is a glorious day. A day of noble deeds. A day of noble work. So, am I right?
Yes!
So now, what language was I speaking? Raise your hand. Yes, what language? Enemy? You are saying the word enemy. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. See, now she's intimidated, and she thinks I'm trying to get one over, but I'm not. Yes. What language was I speaking? You raised your hand. Old English, yes! Give her a hand! Now, dressed as I am, of course, I like to call Old English just English. But yes, Old English or Anglo-Saxon. I'm speaking English now, but what I just said was also English. So how does English go, why does English go from sounding like Hiwata, this day is Galamadea, to hi, this day is a great day? It's because of an event that happens on October 14th in the year 1066. This guy named William, who lives in Normandy, who is a bastard because he's mean and his parents weren't married, he is Duke of Normandy. Normandy is a section of France that around the year 900 the King of France gave to what we call Vikings, because it was easier just to give them land than to keep fighting them. So, a few generations later, Duke William of Normandy. He speaks French. He speaks Norman French. If you go to France today, the Normans will still point out to you, no, we speak Norman French. They're very touchy people. They're so touchy that Duke William decided to invade England in the year 1066 so that he could be King of England. So, Norman French speaking Duke William and his followers invade. The Anglo-Saxons, who speak Old English or Anglo-Saxon, oppose them. And sadly, it hurts my heart more than you will ever know to say this, King Harold, the last Anglo-Scandinavian Saxon king, dies in battle at the hands of Duke William. Ooh. Yes, ooh, indeed. Everyone give me a I'm still upset about it. It's been 1,000 years. So, the ruling class of England is dispossessed, and Norman French is laid on top of the common English people. There are more commoners, though, than ruling elite. So what happens is, English starts to change. It starts to be influenced by Norman French. Norman French is also influenced by Latin. So the reason that English has so many Latin words and vocabulary things in it now is because of the Norman French coming in. And those two languages sort of percolate together, but English eventually dominates, but it changes. So, in the year 1066, English sounds like Full bodlice bjornes lärde, hig shall de hadra, piorta the kenre, mood shall de more, though our mittan lithla. Changes from sounding like that. Let's fast forward 300 years to the time of Geoffrey Chaucer. Now English sounds like this. When that April, with his sure suta, the drought of March had passed to the ruta, and bathed every vein in switch liqueur of which virtue engendered is the fluor, when Zephyrus Ecce with his sweaty breath inspired hath in every holt and hated the tender crops, and the young sun hath na ram his half course run, and small a fool is meckle melodia, that sleeping all the night with open ear, so pricketh him that would hear courageous, then long in folk to go on pilgrimages. Anyone recognize that? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Honesty, who recognizes that? What is that?
Canterbury Tales.
Canterbury Tales, the opening lines of the Canterbury Tales in Middle English. Now, probably some of that was still hard to follow, right? But did you recognize some words? Like when that April, with his shari suta, shower sweet, had pierced to the root, the drought of March, the drought of March. So it's starting to become recognizable. Some of the words are still different, but the way the sentences are structured is the same. So we're seeing English start to progress. And it keeps, the Germanic part of the English keeps asserting itself, because English is a Germanic language. The Angles and the Saxons, Anglo-Saxon, are Germanic tribes. So that Germanic language still keeps pulling that Norman French down into the gutter with it. And finally, we arrive at modern English around the 1580s, 1590s. And we have this guy named William Shakespeare, who is giving English its best sound that it's ever had, with things like, "Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene." Now, that's kind of heightened language, but you understood it. There was, no words in there that weren't recognizable. The sentence patterns are the same, so that is what English does. It goes from that very Germanic sounding to how it sounds now. And it's because of that battle on October 14th in the year 1066. People like to say all the time, it's a day that changed history. There is rarely a day that actually changes the course of human events. But October 14th, 1066 is one of those days, because the entire ruling class of England is wiped out. They are gone. And the Norman culture, which is very European, replaces the Anglo-Saxon leadership that had been very Scandinavian, what we call Viking. That's actually, don't use that word today. Use the word Scandinavian. The peoples of Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Gotland, Frisia. Viking isn't a noun. Viking's a verb. Viking means to go raiding. So when you say Vikings, well, that's anyone that decides to raid. Now, for shorthand, we call the Scandinavians Vikings, but properly, Scandinavia. That's what you should say. The Scandinavian culture practiced Viking, practiced raiding. But England is very Scandinavian. We don't think of it as Scandinavian today, and it's because that bastard William the Conqueror went, "Hey, England, stop looking at Scandinavia. You are now part of Europe." And it's a direct result of October 14, 1066 that our language sounds differently, and things like the 100 Years' War happens. Things like the centuries of rivalry between France and England happens. England being part of European politics instead of Scandinavian politics. So, on October 14th, it did change the European world. Put that in your pockets, folks. When someone says the day that changed history. So, that's sort of the course of the events. That's what we're focusing on today with our living history. We're going to be doing a program at 2 about the actual arms and weapons in the battle itself. And then at 4, we're going to visit our friend Shakespeare. We're going to look at the plays Macbeth, Henry V, and Henry VI Part 1, and take the characters Joan of Arc, Macbeth, and Captain Fluellen, the Welshman. Yeah, I know you're not Welsh, but you're from the British Isles.
That'd be right.
Yes. And we're going to show what Shakespeare says they wore in battle, versus what they actually wore in battle. Right now, I will throw this open to questions or comments from y'all. So raise your hand if there's anything you want to ask about that we've talked about. If you want to talk about this lovely instrument I was playing, or any of the things we've gone over. Any questions? Now is your time. Yes, ma'am.
What is that instrument called?
This is a lyre, L-Y-R-E. It's an Anglo-Saxon lyre. It is a reproduction, a faithful, accurate reproduction of the lyre that was found at Sutton Hoo in 1939. There's a movie on Netflix, as a matter of fact, called The Dig, that's about where this lyre was found. And this design would have been common for centuries. So this design dates to the 600s, 500s, 600s, but it would have been found in the 1100s, even the 1200s. But that's what it is, an Anglo-Saxon lyre. And I've got it tuned right now so that my first two strings play the same note and they make a droning sound. And then I play the melody on the upper strings. Now, this instrument was also specifically built to be played indoors in a mead hall. So it kind of gets lost out here. So if you want to join me in the tent later on, I'll do you a concert.
Do you have some mead?
Well, you have to bring your own mead. B-Y-O-M. Bring your own mead. Excellent question, though. Any other questions? Any answers? Yeah. Okay, so these strings are made of catgut. Now, cat doesn't mean pretty little kitty meowing. Cat is short for cattle, so cattle gut. So they are made from animal gut. The strings I've got on here are a modern reproduction called nygut. They're made of nylon, but they have the same acoustic characteristics of the gut. So that's, a win for the animals. And for our nose, because it would have smelled bad. But yeah, so it would have been made of gut. But everything on here is, organic. Back in the day, you've got wood, gut, and little copper nails holding it together. And I just love the way it sounds. It's a very delicate instrument. And the poetry that I recited earlier, when I said, Full botlice bjornes lerde, hig shall the hadra, hiorta the kindra, much shall the mor do armitan lithla. That would have been recited while someone strummed the lyre as sort of a musical backdrop. Or it could have been sung to a tune on the lyre, or both. So the lyre and the poetry and the language all go together. The Anglo-Saxons and the Scandinavians in general really prized a poet, because the poet was the original social influencer. They were the influencers. They're the ones writing poems about you, the king. And if they don't like you and they write a bad poem, if they then sing all over Scandinavia, you get a bad reputation. And even if you're the king, you don't want that. So the poets were revered and well rewarded for their craft, which I think we should bring that back.
Yay.
Yes. Anything else?
Lancing.
Lansing.
Yeah.
Lansing, Michigan?
Very dangerous.
Lances are in fact very dangerous. And Eric, thank you for that segue, because he is king of the segues, ladies and gentlemen. Eric and I clearly have a history. But at our 12 o'clock program, we're going to talk about lancing, because lances, or spears that you hold under your arm, are used at the Battle of Hastings by one side, but not the other. The answer may surprise you as to which is which, or it may not. So we'll be talking about that specifically. Very good. Anything else? Yes, you there, tiny person in the back. Repeat her question for me. Adult?
Oh, the purse.
Well, what is your purse for? For holding stuff? That's what mine is for. Holding stuff. And as a matter of fact, you see that my purse is hanging from two loops from my belt. Have you ever heard the term cut purse?
Yes.
That means someone who's stolen your purse? Well, it comes from cutting the loops and grabbing the purse. So a cut purse is someone with a tiny little knife. They stick it behind, cut the loops, and run. Now, just because I have this knife does not mean necessarily I'm a cut person. It's just a utility knife. I use it for other things. But yeah, that's what my purse is for. Just like you carry stuff in a bag, I carry stuff in a bag. Very good question. Anything else? Yes.
What is that thing right here?
What is this thing right here? This! Yeah, you should go ooh. This is what gives the Saxon people their name. This is a type of knife that in the language of the Saxons is called a sax or sax. Sax means knife. Sax, son. What might that mean? Sax, son.
Son!
What? Huh?
Son!
What?
Knife.
No, sax means knife, and sax, son.
Means knife son.
Whoa, 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 what did someone say?
Child of the knife.
Child of the knife or son of the knife. Yes, Saxon means son of the knife. The Saxon people were called son of the knife. That's a pretty badass name for your tribe. And it's because they were a very
Saxon.
fierce fighting tribe. So fierce they eventually conquer England, and now we call it Saxon. So, shout out to the Saxons.
Woo!
Good question. Anything else? I'll be happy to stand here in the noonday sun sweating, answering questions.
One more. The language, did the common people speak the same language as the noble people, or was there a class differentiation?
Very much, she said, did the common people speak the same language as the ruling class, the ruling Normans? No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, William, of course, speaks Norman French. His sons speak Norman French. His grandsons speak Norman French. His great-grandsons speak Norman French. His great-great-grandsons speak Norman French. There is not an English king who speaks English as their native language until Henry IV in the year 1400. So it's like 300 plus years before the king speaks English as his native language again.
Wow.
That's how long it took for that Norman French to work out of their system. But there's a very interesting division. English has words for cow and pig and sheep.
And cat!
Norman words, cow is beef, pig is pork, sheep is mutton. Those three words, from the Norman point of view, are what you eat. The three words from the English point of view are what you raise on the farm. Huh, is there a class difference in what the words mean? Absolutely! The lowly Saxon is the guy tending the animal, so he has a word for the animal. The Norman elite have a word for the finished product after it's been killed and cooked. So there's a perfect example of the division in the language. And of course, because of the way things
Feudal
blend
society.
together, we now have a lot of words for the same thing, which is frustrating if you're a non-native English speaker trying to learn English, but it's great if you're a poet because you have a lot of words to pull from to communicate. Very cool. And I think that's a great place to stop. Please stick around the rest of the day. Come visit our living history camp. We've got cooking, we've got jewelry making, we've got warrior stuff. You can try your hand actually dueling using the earliest known fencing manual in Europe. And thank you so much.
Woo!